Hello, everyone. Welcome to our information session for the Master of Education program at University of San Diego. My name is Joe Sohn, and I'm joined by two members of our online degrees community. First, we have Dr. Joseph Lathan, the Academic Director for USD's MED program. Dr. Lathan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Glad to be here again, once again. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we're also joined today by Nicole Sampson, one of our personal enrollment advisors and an expert on USD's online degree programs, including our MED program. Nicole, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to getting into it.
All right, great. Thank you. And thank you to everyone. Before we get started, I want to let you know that we are recording this session and we will share the link to a replay to you via an email afterward. Also, throughout the session, you'll have the opportunity to send comments and questions through the chat feature. We'll try to leave time at the end to go through a Q&A. We'll do our best to get to every question, but if we don't have time to get to yours, we'll follow up via email. So with that, I'll begin with a quick overview of our agenda. I've introduced you to Dr. Lathan and Nicole, but as part of our welcome, I'll share some background about the University of San Diego and the School of Leadership and Education Sciences, which oversees the program content for the Master of Education program. I will also spotlight a few people from our program who are tremendous resources for our students. Following that, I'll turn the presentation over to Dr. Lathan, who will talk a little bit about why informed, committed, and passionate teachers are needed more than ever today, and how USD's program structure and community is geared towards student success and prepares its students to be leaders in education. And last but not least, Nicole will share key details about the MED program, including courses, tuition, financial aid, application procedures, and a few other things. So let's move on to the overview of USD as a whole, meet your team, and your levels of support. Let's dive right in with some background about USD. It was founded in 1949, and we are a private, not-for-profit university committed to the tradition of educating leaders. We are known as a community engagement institution recognized by the Carnegie Foundation, and we are one of a few Ashoka Changemaker campuses. As part of our involvement in this network of almost 50 colleges and universities around the world, we're putting a strong emphasis on social innovation and in our community of globally minded leaders. We continue to be a top-ranked university for our academic degree programs, our institution as a whole, and of course, our beautiful campus. USD's School of Leadership and Education Sciences, or often referred to by its acronym of SOLS, was originally founded in 1962, but didn't take on its current name until 2005. Today, it's home to our 4 academic departments that share a tie to our original mission: leadership studies, learning and teaching, counseling and marital and family therapy, and the Naval ROTC program. In addition, it's also home to multiple research institutes and centers. It's composed of 34 full-time faculty, 40 plus affiliate faculty, and more than 30 administrators and staff members. We have more than 800 graduate students and 48% students of color. Our core values are diversity, inclusion, and social justice, excellence in teaching, care for the whole person and common home, community engagement, and excellence in scholarship. So now I'm going to highlight a few people who are really important to our program. First, here's our interim dean at SOLS, Dr. Joy Spencer. Among her achievements was co-founding the STEAM Academy and the STEAM Youth and Community Conference, which are initiatives designed to improve mathematics, engineering, and science learning opportunities for middle and high school students, and have served over 1,500 high school students and their families throughout the San Diego area. If you go to the school's website, you'll be able to see some of the other work she's been doing. She's really a fantastic person. And next is Dr. Lathan, who you will hear from in a couple of minutes. Dr. Lathan completed all of his education online, and for the MED online program, he oversees faculty and curriculum development while also running several other programs at SOLS. Our next 3 slides highlight 3 individuals who are key resources for MED students. First is Ben Joyce, the interim program manager for MED Online on the student success team. He's a main point of contact for all MED students and can be reached at any time. Same thing goes for Allison Lynch, who works with Ben as MED Online's program coordinator. And finally, Abby Oliver is our program assistant. These three people provide tremendous ongoing support for students, from help with registration, orientation, to answering questions and communicating other guidance. So with that, I'll pass the presentation along to Dr. Lathan, who will take you through the next segment of today's session.
Thank you, Joe. I really, really appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. We are so glad to see all of you on tonight. What a pleasure it is to have you join us. And this right here is a phenomenal opportunity to learn about our wonderful program. And an online program is so in demand right now. And we are so grateful that our online program has been running since 2013. So we're not new at this, and we're grateful to be able to service the demands of today. So thank you all for taking the time to join this session. I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit about the online program. And I just want you to hang in there with me, and hopefully you'll be able to learn more about this program, and then you'll be able to hear more on how you too can become a part of this wonderful community. So starting off, I just want to say this. This is what I've learned, and this is what we have all learned, especially over the last 8 months, that teachers are superheroes. And it's clearly because it's been the teachers that have been really, really working hard to try to figure out ways to keep our students educated. So what I want you to do is we're going to kind of try to make this as interactive as possible by using the chat room. I want you to go ahead in the chat room, if you can indicate what motivates you to pursue a teaching degree. So I want you to just kind of put that in the chat. We'll get a chance to think about and talk about some of this at the end. But I want you to think about, because teachers are motivated by many different reasons. Either it's family members, a former teacher, or a desire to work with young people. But there's something that's innate that teachers are drawn to this profession because there is a special gift and quality that teachers have to be able to manage, especially today under a COVID environment. So one thing that we've learned from the COVID environment and the pandemic is one positive thing is that a much greater appreciation for the importance of teachers and public schools. This time we see parents struggling to work and to teach their children, and you also see children struggling to learn from home. So there is a lot of complexity today that we see, that we're experiencing, and teachers are at the forefront of this new evolution. And this new evolution of teaching that we're seeing, it requires teachers to be able to teach both in the classroom and to be able to provide remote learning opportunities. So we're kind of seeing a normalized teaching develop, in which teachers have to be able to do both, to teach in the classroom and also provide remote learning opportunities. So, of course, there are some major challenges. As with anything, there are going to be challenges. And so we're going to just talk about two of them. Of course, we can go into speak about many, many more, but we're going to keep it streamlined today to speak about two major challenges that we are experiencing today. One of those is teacher shortage. I can't emphasize enough the amount of teachers that we need today, not only in the United States but all over the world. And the data from the American Federation of Teachers, the National Labor Union, shares that 1 in 3 teachers say the pandemic has made them more likely to consider retiring earlier than they had planned, and particularly among those over the age of 50 and with more than 20 years of tenure. So what that means is that we already have these many, many openings in our teaching field, but now we're going to see even more openings that we're going to need to fill. And we have over 60 million children in our K through 12 school system, but we only have over 3 million teachers to service all of these students. So that's why I started off saying teachers are superheroes. All right. So the other challenge, education inequality. This is so important because the challenges were already there before COVID, but this has really exasperated the process, and it has kind of pushed it to a whole nother speed level. And we're watching now the inequality, because it's important that you know that before COVID, there were 1.5 billion students out of school worldwide. There were 1.5. So if it was 1.5 students out of the school worldwide, that means that the numbers have extremely increased. And the hardest hit are the poorest families, or the people of color, ethnic groups that are marginalized, that don't have resources or access to resources. And so there was already this marginalized opportunity that we're not giving those opportunities. But when you throw lack of resources, lack of internet connections, laptops on top of that, the inequality continues, and it becomes even more detrimental to people of color. And research tells us that there's 463 million children, at least 1/3 of the world, who have no chance at remote learning by radio, television, or online. Can you imagine that? 463 million children. But not everyone is being challenged, or not benefiting, or not excelling in this environment. And the wealthy, the people that have great school districts, the one that have resources in their communities, in their districts, the wealthy are not impacted as much by COVID, because they have tutoring service, or what they call now learning pods. And that's $100 an hour, in which people of poor backgrounds and ethnic groups cannot afford. And the students of the wealthy were already doing some form of distance learning or online remote education, in which we can call digital learning tools, or using those tools to adapt to the changes prior to COVID. So
Mhm.
there has not been as much of a disadvantage to those that have wealth, or to those that have resources, as it has to those that live in poor communities. All right. And we're going to ask if everyone, if you can mute your mic, please. If you can keep your mic muted, I really be thankful for that. All right. Now, we also want to talk about the opportunities. Okay. There are always going to be challenges, but I'm an opportunist. I like to always see the opportunities that also can come out of what some may consider tragedy. All right. So here's one thing that's we know for sure: the rising public support. There is a newfound public recognition of how essential schools and teachers are. And we see more support being poured into the school systems. You see tech companies donating technology equipment and hotspots, and you see schools and other communities donating school supplies. You see food banks opening up the doors for children for meals. So you see this rising public support to round around our most precious commodity, which is our children, and how to make them, give them the access to a quality education. So for the first time, though, there's a state of universal education, but this is one of the very few times that the majority of parents and families around the world share the long-standing concerns of the most vulnerable family. So whether you got money, whether you are not all that well off, or whether you're from a rich background, one thing that is happening now, there's one major common theme, and that is that there is an urgent need of a safe and good enough school to send their children to. So no matter where you fit at in the column, every parent wants a safe and good school to send their child to. And the other thing that we see from the public support is the new education allies. As I mentioned before, this pandemic has galvanized new actors in this community. We see parents, we see social welfare organizations, we also see businesses, community organizations to support children's learning like never before. So there is a great opportunity that we can take advantage of while the going is good, all right? Number two, another opportunity is the increase in the need for education innovation. Now, the education innovation can be defined as this. It's an idea of technology that is new to a current context, if not new to the world. So we're bringing in new ideas, new thoughts into our education system. We're challenging our beliefs. We're able to bring in these thoughts through our education innovation, meaning that we got to be able to step outside of the so-called education box. And the goal should be for all of our children is to become lifelong learners. And they develop the full breadth of skills and competencies from literacy to problem solving to mathematics to collaboration, all these other skills that they will need to access in a changing world of work. And not only that, to be constructive citizens in society. So we're preparing them from a whole level of different skill sets, different experiences, educational opportunities, practicums, and different ways to learn to allow for a more well-rounded, educated quality experience. I guess that's the best way I could put that. All right. But we also see the old school ways in which we would call old school, which people are still connecting with students even in this environment. The old school now would be called text messages and phone calls or mailing packages. But students are doing it and teachers are doing it to stay connected to their students and also to their peers. All right. And number three, the third challenge or major opportunity, I want to say, excuse me, the third opportunity is to expand pedagogical approaches. This is the time. This is the time that we can really begin to see what things that we have been doing have not been working. We have to remember that even before COVID, we as a society, as a world, were not doing all that well in the education, and a lot of students were left behind that were going to class before COVID hit. And this, in many ways, a different way of learning, digitized learning, or incorporating their own personal experiences into their learning environment, this might be an opportunity to connect with other people and different other students in different ways that may not be good at summative testing or being under pressure to go ahead and timed, but they allow video expression and they're able to appeal to the students' social emotional learning needs. And so these pedagogical approaches that we're now learning is expanding our mindset to be able to embrace other ways of learning. And this also allows for the power to increase diversity of people and places. People that can't afford to come to a campus or can't afford to go to an Ivy League school or these other places to get a quality education. Through online education and quality online, we have an opportunity to leverage marginalized people to equal the playing ground to a quality higher education. But we must invest in those communities to allow them that same opportunity. And from doing the investment, we'll use smart use of technology and the data that allow for real-time adaptation. And this is important. We will not remove all of this great groundwork that we've have set in our educational system, but we will build and work alongside, but not replace our analog approaches. So this is a very exciting time for education. I kind of am like encouraging everyone that we have to learn to be flexible more than ever, because right now we're all learning along the way. And as a teacher, you have a chance to make a difference now in our education system more than we probably ever have, because now the playing field has been open. Things that they say we couldn't do as teachers, you couldn't try in your classroom. When COVID hit, they said, look, find a way to do it. And it only can be done through an online education. So at this time, we're going to go to the next slide. I really thank all of you for this great opportunity to be able to share with you this great program. And now we're going to go and we're going to talk a little bit more about the program itself and how you too can become a part of this great school and organization. And this, you'll see our hierarchy. This is, I work for the University of San Diego, but my department is SOLS. the School of Leadership and Education Sciences. And inside that SOLS, there's a Master's of Education community. One of the departments is considered the Department of Learning and Teaching. And this is where it embraces our Master's of Education community, but it's just one layer of many. So we love to consider ourselves as a institution that works within one another. Next slide, please. All right, so some of the pillars that we spoke about, and these are some 21st century skills that we must learn, which is the first pillar. And we must learn new strategies to help our students critically analyze information and to compose, create, and collaborate using the latest digital technology. So we're looking at our program. We continue to try to find ways to build those 21st century skills and offer them to our students. And then we also we love the opportunity to allow students to engage in classroom inquiry. Our student-centered teacher-guided approach to classroom inquiry encourages students to investigate real-life questions that connect to their own interests, thereby stimulating their problem-solving, critical thinking, and self-directed learning skills. So as a school that advocates in a mission for social justice, for equality, these are the things that bring about equality is inquiry. And we encourage our students to take on a form of inquiry that challenges not only the system in which we are in, but your own beliefs. This is where much reflection and change is happening when you have the language that is given to you and the understanding to be able to interrogate your own beliefs and to have practitioners as your facilitators that are practicing in professions and also teaching. So these are one of the things that we are extremely proud of, to have real life practitioners bringing real world applications to the classroom that students can immediately use, not when they graduate years later, but at the same time while they're learning and completing their degree. And our goal is to promote educational equity and social justice. And our online MED program encourages educators to examine issues of diversity, inequity, and social justice to create collaborative, inclusive classroom experiences that actively engage all students from different backgrounds with different abilities. And that is one of the pillars of University of San Diego. Social justice, equality, diversity. You will find that this is embedded throughout every course that you will take. Those themes, those tenets that define us as an organization and how we play our part preparing today's teacher for today's world. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about some of these program outcomes. What do I expect to get if I go through this program? What are the benefits of what could I be? Well, these are some of the things that we want to share with you, that careers, by completing your Master's of Education, where you can be able to advance your career or take on a new one. And that will include principals or administrators. You could be school or career counselors, education consultants, special education teacher, which is such a big field now, curriculum developers, instruction specialists, and even college university professors. So these are just some of the things that you can take on from completion of your master's degree that you add along with your great working experiences. Next slide, please. All right. So what levels of support do we have? And this is where we want to share with you our strength of our program has been our support. We like to say that we offer a white glove treatment in which we want every student to succeed. And through that model, we've set up a structure to be able to meet those demands by having a program manager, by having program coordinators and program assistant. And those were the people that you saw at the very beginning of this presentation, that Joe shared with you. And these people are there to support you. They will help with deadlines and procedures for student support issues and even registration. So you have a support to help keep you on track on the administrative side while you continue to work on creating your completing your courses and becoming the best student that you can be. And then you have an academic director. And guess what? That academic director is me. So you will have me at the very onset of your program to help you in advisement capacity of curriculum changes in specialization or academic questions. And you will even see me if your GPA goes below a 3.0. And that's the only time you don't really want to see me, because we must then be able to monitor your progress to make sure you get back up to a 3.0 GPA. Then along with that, we have campus partners, financial aid, one stop, student counts, a career center, a phenomenal library, and our writing center is at top level, there to help you with all of your writing needs. And then I can't, and I would be remiss if I forget our professors. These are the people that help to educate and bring forth great scholars. And they are there to support you. And as I mentioned, these are school professors that are working as principals, as guidance counselors, as people that are working in the field that also bring the practice to the classroom. Next slide. So I'm getting ready to complete my portion. I just want you to introduce you to some of quotes of some alumni that have been through our program, and we have many success stories we could share. And I'm going to invite you that we have a website that you can go to, and go to our website, and you'll be able to see the website of only our student stories and e-newsletter. Our next page will show you our ambassadors. And our ambassadors, in which you can go to the next page, please, Joe. These are people that are also on the website that you can speak to personally, student to student. It's sometimes peer-to-peer is one of the best ways to convey information, and you can be able to reach out to any one of our student ambassadors, and they can share their experience and how they felt that the program was for them. And please know, we're not paying them. So this is a voluntary information and access to them that they have allowed and volunteered to do so. All right. So those are some of the phenomenal things I wanted to share about USD. And at this point, I think I have made it to the end of my portion. I'm now going to turn it over to Nicole, and she's going to tell you more about this great program. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us, Dr. Lathan, and making my job a whole lot easier. Good evening, future Toreros. My name is Nicole. Again, I'm an admissions advisor with USD. I am your first stop on the path to becoming part of the USD family. And today I'll be covering program overview, courses, academics, financials, and some important reminders at the end. Next slide, please. All right, so in terms of the program overview, this program, it is 100% online. It's a 20-month program. Essentially, you're taking one class at a time. Each class is 7 weeks long. They're generally back-to-back classes, but you will have scheduled breaks in between semesters, and you'll have 5 semesters total. So if you're looking at the slide, you'll have 10 courses for a total of 30 academic credits, 5 core courses at 3 units apiece, including your capstone course, and 5 specialization courses. Now you can choose from either our STEAM program, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, school leadership, literacy and digital learning, which is essentially being able to incorporate technology into the classroom. You could choose from inclusive learning, special education, and universal design, which Dr. Lathan pointed out is very, very needed at this time. And then you can also choose the curriculum and instruction specialization. Now, one side note, our curriculum and instruction master's degree is actually our most flexible program. So although you'll be taking the same 5 core courses, to a degree, you get to mix and match some of the different specialization courses. And one thing to note as you're choosing your program, whether you're looking for a bump on the pay scale or trying to obtain a new position, definitely consult with your school or your district to see if they require that your master's degree says something specific. So if they need your degree to state that you have a master's of education in STEAM, you may want to go towards the STEAM program. If it's more flexible, then curriculum and instruction might be a good route, so you can dabble in some of the different specialization classes, and then your transcripts will reflect those classes that you took, while your degree will actually say the MED in curriculum and instruction. It is 5 consecutive trimesters, including summer terms. They are 14-week trimesters with 2 7-week courses back to back. Now, you're only taking 1 class at a time, and we do this, one, because most people are working professionals. We want to make it easier for you to focus on 1 class. That way you're not juggling multiple classes, multiple professors, multiple assignments. You can hone in on that 1 class for that first 7 weeks. And then you'll have your capstone course, which is your last course, and it's taken during your final term, and it does overlap with your last specialization course in the last 7 weeks. Don't stress. If you're accepted into the program, it's my job to make sure that you get off on the right foot. So I'll make sure you sign your enrollment agreement. Once your enrollment agreement is signed, then your program coordinators will register you for your classes. So you don't have to worry about when to do it, how to do it, if you're going to get a seat. We make sure to take care of all of that for you. Next slide. All right, so this is just a quick breakdown of what a typical semester would look like. So if you're starting class on January 12th, if you look at course A, your first class will start January 12th. It'll go for 7 weeks. Literally the day after that class ends, you'll start course B. That will go for 7 weeks, and then that will conclude your first trimester. Again, you'll have 5 trimesters. The only difference between these 5 is your very last one, you will have that final capstone course. Next slide. All right, so from a bird's eye view, if we're starting at the top, looking at the dark blue box in your first semester, and again, side note, I can email you the course descriptions for each class. But as you can see, class number 1, EDUC 520, that'll be your first core course, along with your first specialization course in that first semester. Moving clockwise to the second dark blue box, class 3 and 4 will be EDU 521 and your second specialization course. And then moving again to semester 3, class 5 will be EDUC 522 and your third specialization course. Now, once we get back to the top, take a look at the light blue boxes. You'll take your 7th class, EDUC 523, with your 4th specialization course. And then finally, class number 9, you're looking at your capstone course and your final specialization. And hopefully once we get to that point, you will be able to, even though you're an online student, as long as COVID provides, you can still walk for graduation if that's something that's motivating you. If not, your degree will be mailed to you. But even as an online student, you still have all of the benefits as a ground campus student. So you'll have a student ID card, access to the library for any of you who want to make a trip out to San Diego. If you're not already in the area, you have access to the campus, computer lab, library, everything like that. Next slide, please. Okay, so taking a deeper look of what it looks like on a week-to-week basis, I generally tell my students to dedicate about 15 hours a week towards their program. Now, with that being said, some students might take a little longer, some may spend a shorter amount of time. It really just depends on how familiar you are with the curriculum that week and your own personal study habits. So if you're looking at the grid, you can see classes will start on Tuesday. Your module will launch. You'll be able to see the syllabus for that, for the whole class, but you'll be able to see the deadlines for that week as well. So as you can see, you may have a deadline on Friday of a discussion board posting. Discussion board postings, for those of you who are new to the online platform, essentially your professor will pose a question, you will be required to answer that question. And then as you can see on Monday, you may also have an assignment due, and then you'll be required to reply to other students in your class who made those discussion board postings as well. Now, the beauty of this program, as I said before, is that it is for working professionals. Working kids, extracurricular activities, whatever it is that generally takes up your time now, we want to make sure that this master's program is flexible enough so it can fit into your schedule and you can still be successful. It is asynchronous, so as long as you're turning in your assignments by the deadline, you get to dictate your own study schedule. There'll never be a time where you have to be in front of your computer, say Thursday nights at 7 o'clock to watch a lecture. If there are lectures or anything like that, everything's pre-recorded so you can access it on your own time and on your own schedule. Next slide. All right, so two important things every student is looking for: how much time is this program going to take, which we covered, and the cost. Very important. So program costs, if we're going from small to the overall cost, you're looking at per unit, and again, it's a 30-unit program, $710 per credit hour. Per course, and remember each course is 3 units, that equals $2,130, and per term, which you will always take 6 units per term, is $4,260. Now, if you wanted the overall ballpark figure, you're looking at about $21,300 for tuition, and then you'll want to set aside some additional funds for books as well. And books, there'll be both physical textbooks and electronic, depending on your professor and what class you're in at that time. Now, although the university at the master's level considers you a full-time student for taking 6 units per semester, federal financial aid considers it part-time. So if you needed that information when filling that out later, that's what you may put in there. Next slide, please. All right, so different financial options. Of course, there's federal financial aid. So if you're a permanent resident or hold a green card, you can apply for federal financial aid. They do require information from previous year's taxes. So if you have those available, it makes the process a little bit easier. Takes about roughly 20 minutes, but it is a free application to fill out. Once you get that submitted, it takes the government about 2 to 3 days to process it. They send that information to USD, and once you're accepted, you'll have a student portal account, and the financial aid department will be able to upload that award into your account, or whatever award there is, and you'll be able to take a look at that and either accept or decline however much you need at that time. Now, if you're a cash paying student or you want to use multiple funding options, we do have a student accounts department. They offer interest-free payment plans. There's multiple payment plans available. So if accepted in the program, I can get you connected with them, and then you can choose the plan that best fits your situation. We also accept employer tuition reimbursement or tuition assistance. So if your school or district offers that, that's great. If you don't know, I suggest talking to your HR department to see if there's anything available. And also for our military students, we do have a military and veterans department. So if you want to apply any of those benefits towards your program, again, upon acceptance, I can make sure to get you connected with Nelson Chase. He's amazing. He will be able to make sure all of your documents are in and completed on time so those can be applied to your program. One thing to consider is we do not accept credit card payments, but we do accept electronic payments from checking or savings accounts. Next slide, please. All right, so some important reminders and things coming up pretty quickly here, but still 100% doable, and I can walk you through it if you decide to move forward. But for those of you wanting to start class in the spring, which I hope you do, classes will start on January 12th. The deadline to apply for that start date is December 11th. If accepted into the program, you will have to complete a mandatory orientation. Now, although it's mandatory, you're not paying for it, but it does need to be completed before classes start. It's essentially there to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident with the online platform before actually starting your first class. Next slide. All right, so what are your next steps from here? Congratulations, you essentially made it to the end of the online MED information session. So the next step would be to speak with me. Talk individually. I'd like to get to know a little bit more about your background, what's motivating you, and making sure that we're finding the right fit. To cover the application a little bit so you have an idea of what's going to be expected of you. Essentially, I'll send you an email with a link to create your account. You'll create your account, you'll put in your general information. The three main pieces of information that you'll be required to upload are your resume, a short personal statement. Now, there's a prompt in the application for your personal statement. Questions include what's motivating you for the program. Dr. Lathan already brought that up, so hopefully we can get some ideas flowing at the end of my spiel. So you have an idea of what other students may be putting in their personal statements. It doesn't need to be a novel, but answer the questions in its entirety. I suggest putting it in a Word document so you don't lose any of your information, and you can spell and grammar check and get that uploaded. Also, we'll need 2 letters of recommendation. They can absolutely be from your principals and administrators, but in light of the recent environments, they may be bogged down, not have as much time. Using coworkers or previous coworkers is absolutely fine. Essentially, we just want to see what people have to say who have seen you in your element and working, and what your work ethic looks like. We want to hear from them to make sure that you'll be able to be successful in this program. So for you, all you need to do in the application is make sure you put in 2 valid email addresses. Once you save it, the system does the rest for you. It sends them an email with instructions on how to complete and upload their recommendations as well. And of course, if you're trying to move forward, I can give you a waiver code so you don't have to pay that application fee. Try to make the process as smooth as possible for you. And then, of course, at USD, we are committed to your success, and we are here for you every step of the way. Again, my name's Nicole. I'm your advisor literally from this conversation, well, kind of conversation, until the time you graduate. So you're stuck with me. So feel free to call or email me as much as you want. It is literally my job to try to make this transition into starting a master's program as easy as possible for you. Please take down my email address, shoot me an email, give me a call, and I'd be happy to help you get started and get moving along. Thank you all for listening and who have stayed on this long. And Joe, I'm going to give it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
And that concludes our presentation. We're now happy to answer any questions you may have. Just submit a question in the chat section. As Dr. Lathan said earlier, also interested what's motivating you to earn a degree, an MED degree. So feel free to send any questions that you have.
Because you explain everything so well, they don't have questions. That's I'm going to compliment us on that, right?
Yes. And finally, a reminder that we record this session, so we'll send an email with a link to the replay soon. We do have a question here. Can you talk a little bit more about what the capstone project might look like? Dr. Lathan, can you address that?
Yeah, sure. The capstone project is a culmination of your work that you will begin at the very onset of your program when you take your first course, EDUC 520, which is Social Justice and Advocacy. And during the 5 terms of the program, every course that you take will be a contribution towards your capstone project, in which it will be basically a action research project. And it will have a research-based methodology in which you will present a question, you will present the findings, and it will be based on action research. And it's a cumulative product that you produce at the end. So I hope that will help to just give you an idea of what that could look like for you. but it's recorded, and most students at the end they present to the souls community. We actually have a time for presentations to people can share their presentation with the whole souls community.
All right, next question. Would you recommend this program to someone looking to gain a teaching credential to become a high school teacher?
Well, this is not a credential program. That's why it's so important that you, as Nicole mentioned, that you need to definitely check with your requirements of your state. But this program is not for credentialing. We have a separate program that credentials students and offers that avenue. But this program does not.
And to piggyback off of that a little bit to provide a little more light on that. For this program, one of the requirements to get in is that you are or have been a full-time K through 12 teacher for at least 2 years. Now, there is a lot of gray area in that. If you don't meet that specific requirement, again, I would really like to talk to you individually so we can see what kind of experience you do have. And essentially, we will present your resume, your bachelor's degree transcripts, and a short statement from you as to why you feel like this program is going to enhance your career path. And Dr. Lathan will take a look at that. So even if you don't meet that work experience requirement, if a few of the other items fall into place, you can still get accepted into this program.
All right. And I see no other questions. Here we go. Do I have to be currently teaching?
Hi, Basu. No, you do not have to be currently teaching. Dr. Lathan, can you talk a little bit about the access to a classroom at this
Yeah,
time and in this
yeah.
environment?
Well, yeah, this is a little tough one for us because it is a COVID environment, and we're trying to be sensitive to the and understand where teachers are at in this moment. But this is a teacher-based program. All teachers that enter this program, there is an expectation that you have access to a classroom. So we have been a little bit more flexible in that education with those that are embarking on a teaching career, and if they have a professional network of teachers and a group of community, a professional learning community, as we call it, a PLC, and we allow and try to draw data and provide opportunities to meet the outcomes of the program based on different learning community. But that is a case that we look at on an individual basis, but we strongly recommend that those that come into this program, though, have access to a classroom. And it will be okay when you start off, but as you begin to get down into the program, you may find that there's some challenges not having access to a classroom. So we want to try to be open before you begin, so that way you don't get in the program and you find that you are struggling with that issue. We made some ways to try to help students overcome those barriers, but we strongly recommend that you really try to have a classroom access. And if you don't, you have to write a great letter and get some powerful people to recommend you that you will have a professional learning community for me to consider access beyond that. Awesome. Good, good.
You're welcome. All right, Andrea, for someone wanting to move into school administration and wanting to possibly inquire into how to close the achievement and opportunity gap on a school district community level, would this program provide the opportunity to delve into an aspect of this topic for the action research portion?
Wow, very educated question. I love that. We have, she's already really ready for this program. I can tell by that great question. Um, okay, let me just try to recap. For someone wanting to move into a school administration, want to possibly inquire into how to close the achievement and opportunity gap. on the school district community level. Would this program provide the opportunity to delve into the aspect of this topic? Most definitely. We're a change making school. We're a school that is centered around um, trying to uh, um, um, uh, protect and to provide equality. And that means that there are classes and curriculum that we prepare you with on day one. In the first course that you take in the social justice and advocacy course, you are going to experience data from LBGT, from disability to the people of color, and we provide with strategies to explore your own data in your own community and internationally, and to then be able to provide opportunities to do it in small increments in your classroom, because it's hard to change it all at one time. So we have to start. If you could start with one student and impact a group, now you get to impact a classroom that will can then turn into a district. When you begin to make and put in the work, and the impact starts with one, and then it grows, because that one then takes that message and shares that message with others. So our program is built to give you these tools to help hopefully be able to close the gaps. And if it can't make any immediate changes to the people around you, one thing it will do, it will make an impact in you and the way that you approach education, by now having the language to address these gaps and to be able to go in those discussions with people and to understand the real barriers that really confront people, that they can't be treated in equal, fair, equitable ways. So I really have to say that is one of the things I'm most proud of, how the preparation to be able to stand and against uh, marginalized situations, and how to speak up with a voice, and not only speak up, but have the language to say when you do speak up. So I do hope that helps in some way. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad. Any more great questions out there? You guys were a great group and got some good questions coming in. You got us here, and then you got Nicole there. She's going to be available. But you can always reach out to me. My email is on the website as well. So we're here, and we hope that you will be able to go ahead and find interest enough to go ahead and pursue the next steps. All right, Joe.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lathan. Yes, as he said, for further information, I encourage you to visit our website at medonline.sandiego.edu. And on behalf of Dr. Lathan and Nicole, we thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope to see you in the future. All right.
All right.
Yes, we do. Have a great evening, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.